Hey, good morning, everyone. I pray that you all are doing well. Welcome to Morning Motivation. So today, let me get some things straightened out here. I am going live on Instagram. I do it here and there every now and then, but let me get this straightened out. I think I'm live. Okay. So anyway, welcome to Morning Motivation. Thank you so much for joining us. I pray that you all are having a blessed week. And this morning, excuse me for being all dirty and raggedy, we were out in the garage building on the set. And so this morning, as I was doing that, I was listening to Craig Rochelle. And for those of you that know me, I am a huge Craig Rochelle fan. And so I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he was talking about living our lives. He was talking about time management a little bit. And so I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. I wanted to talk about, our time and how valuable our time is. And, we only have a certain amount of time here on earth. And, what we do with our time is, it's important how we spend our time. And so as I get older now, I think to myself, wow, I'm too old to do this. I wish I had started earlier. But when I was younger, I remember saying, wow, I'm too young for this. I can't wait to be older so I can do that. And now I'm starting to change my mindset about, what it is that I want to do, what it is that God is calling me to do. Because, after I left the military, now I have really no restrictions, no limitations on where I need to be, what time I need to be, where I need to live. But all I know is that I need to be where God is calling me to be. And so what I want to encourage you to do as well is don't worry about how old you are. Worry about what God has placed in your heart, what God has put on your mind, and what God is telling you to do. Because no matter what age you are, God is going to be in the midst of it and helping you along the way. So, what is God calling you to do? We talked about this before. What is it that's that burning desire in your heart that you really want to do, that you put on the back burner, that you say, I'm going to get there, I'm going to do it eventually? What is it that God is calling you to do? There's a fire burning inside of you to do something, and you've been sitting on it. So, what I want to encourage you to do is get up and start moving. Take that first step to moving forward. Now, Craig Rochelle talked about this. He said he brought up this idea of Gitmo, and it's good enough to move on. And so with Gitmo, or get it good enough to move on, what I want to tell you this is sometimes we overthink things. And I say that because we have this vision, we have this desire, we have this burning fire inside of us to do something, but we think that we have to plan everything exactly, precisely before we can move forward. No, that is not the case. You just need to start. You just need to take the first step forward. Now, for those of you who like to overplan and overthink and overanalyze and rewrite things a million different times, sometimes you have to get to a point where it is good enough to move on. And the example that Craig Rochelle gave was this. He said that if he has to deliver a speech, he will spend about 8 hours on the speech. Now, within that 8 hour period of time, he will get his speech to about 90% perfection. Now, if he spends 20 hours on the speech, he's only going to get it to about another 5% or only to 95% of perfection. But then he says if he spends 40 hours total on the speech, he's going to take it back to 90% because he's going to be over analyzing things. So the point here is good enough to move on. Don't think that everything has to be exactly perfect before you can move on. Don't think that you need to be perfect before you move on or step into what God is calling you. Because if you're waiting on to be perfect before you move on, you're never going to move on because you're never going to get perfect. So going back to what God is calling you to do, step out on faith. Know that God has you. Right now, we're producing this play, and there's a lot of faith involved. It's about just stepping forward. It's about just letting God use us. We're doing things that we never could have imagined we're doing. We're out here working with power tools and building this huge wooden set, and that is all God. God did not equip us, or so I say, God did not. Wait, what's that saying? God will not equip the. I don't know what the saying is, but anyway, we had no skill set in that area, but we stepped forward out of faith, knowing that God will be in control. And God showed us the way to make this happen. God put the videos in front of us. God brought the people in our lives to help us. God has opened up all of these doors. And so what I want to encourage you to do is get started on what God has called you to do. And good enough to move on means that the project or whatever it is that you're doing is good enough to move on. Stop overthinking things. Stop trying to pour in. I heard this saying a long time ago. A pastor said it to a young preacher. He said, okay, it's been a while since you preached. Don't try to preach the whole Bible in one sermon. Okay. Don't think that you need to do everything all at once. Small steps are going to help you. It's always about, if you're trying to eat an elephant, how do you eat an elephant? Eat the elephant one bite at a time. So what I want to encourage you to do is eat the elephant one bite at a time. Don't try to sit down and consume the whole elephant at once. And for myself, what I was trying to do is I was trying to put 3 or 4 elephants on the table and trying to eat at all of them all at the same time. And that's not going to work either. So for me, my new philosophy is eat only one elephant at a time. But for that elephant, you have to take one bite at a time. Don't try to swallow the whole thing whole, because you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get consumed with frustration because nothing is occurring. But take it one step at a time. And it's good enough to move on. Means that when you get to that, it's 90%, then push forward, get to the next thing, take the next step. If you're waiting to get that everything perfect, everything line up for everything it's not going to happen. Don't wait for that. I'll give you an example. Allie and I, just for our play, we wanted to produce a journal, a woman's journal. And so we were writing one draft and we went in one direction. And then it was like, you know what? We need to get this finished. We need to get it done for this production, which is coming up next week. We need to get it done. So what did we do? We adjusted what we had to a different version that would make it more streamlined for us to produce. And so we didn't worry about, we worried about, everything was accurate as far as the scripture, as far as the quotes that we used and the lineup. But then we look at the cover. If you look at our cover is a little bit blurry, and we noticed that afterwards, but it was good enough to move on. We got a nice solid product out there, and we'll go back and adjust the cover. But it's the point that we made it finished. We completed it, and we have something nice that we can offer individuals. But the point is that it was good enough to move on. So now that is off of our plate, we can go back and readdress it when we have more time later on to change the cover. But it was good enough for us to move on. If we had stayed stuck on that cover and what it looked like and the precision or whatever, all this stuff, then we would have never gotten it done. So what I'm saying to you is this, is that stop letting things get in the way. Stop letting yourself get in the way. Don't say, I'm too old, I'm too young. Right now is the time. Wherever you are, whether you're here on age or there on age, wherever you are on age, now is the time. If it's still burning in your heart, then it's a desire that God has placed there. So get started today, and don't let anything hinder you from what God is calling you to do. You will live a much better life, a much happier life, a better, more peaceful life, knowing that you're in the perfect will of God and going and moving in the direction that God has called you to move. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I pray that you all are having a blessed week. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like. And we will see you again here tomorrow, God willing, at 8 a.m. Take care. We'll talk to you soon, and God bless.